and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I think you segued into what I was going to say. You just demonstrated what I was going to say. I think the number one important uh, attribute to being a good leader is, and that is evaluating yourself first.
Right.
If someone on my team messed up, okay, I'm responsible for my team. So let's make sure I didn't,
100%.
I gave them everything they needed to succeed.
Because with that comes, like you said it. You said communication. That was one of the things, right? It's a responsibility, though.
Absolutely.
It's a responsibility, but it's also accountability as well.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be willing. I mean, it's okay to want to be the leader, but with that comes responsibility. Yeah. With that comes accountability. If something goes wrong, they come to me, right? Exactly. So I need to be responsible enough, and I need to also definitely have the accountability piece as far as, well, what's going on. I mean, and that's where, a lot of times, working, with people as well. I mean, people move, they different sometimes, right? I mean, but the way you talk to them, and I think there's a way to handle things without getting hostile. Sometimes people, that's where they are. They want to get hostile about it, but me, I try not to. I try not to. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I try not to, because I don't think anything's gained in it when you are getting upset. And it's definitely, if it's in front of a bunch of kids, then guess what we're doing? We're modeling how not to communicate to them. So that's one of the things, you need to do. So, one of the things, I encourage, the community to do is to, just identify one person that we have encouraged, from a week to week basis. I think that's a good thing as well, and understanding it too. Just to, kind of go on, it's a lot of times, one of those things where, we talk about, where do we go? Where do we go? What do we do? Because a lot of times that's a hot button topic of, beyond, but to me, it's like, to me, what can it be like? What can, Camp Elevate be like beyond? And I think a lot of times, to me, definitely trying to, do some things as far as with, monitoring and mentoring throughout, the year. It's hard without volunteers. It's very hard without that. Okay. And I'm just letting you know. So just trying to figure out ways in order to do that, because of that reason. But definitely having some weekend events, which we're not opposed to, right? In order to keep the kids going and keep them engaged. I think it's all good, and that's one of the things I would say. It's all good to have them in camp, but what is it worth if we can't keep, definitely with the parents, definitely keep them invested, right? And that's one of the things I will say, is something that I, definitely want to do. I want to be involved in that as well. Just that year-round mentoring. But like I said before, it is hard. We put some things in place. I've been talking to Adrian as well about putting some things in place in order, to get volunteers to actually do some mentorship as well. But it's going to take a background check. It's going to take some serious safeguards because, today's end. Let's just get it right. I mean, I'm just saying, I'd rather be safe.
Right.
You have to be. Right. I'd rather be safe knowing that your kid is safe. Right. Even if that means, it definitely means me going through the same, regiment, requirements, because it does happen at times. It really does happen. And we just have to be aware of that as well. One of the things, that it speaks about is, where are we headed? Where we're headed, more or less in a way where we're still incorporating, like I said, some of the things that not only Donkey does, but others do as well. STEM and STEAM is a big deal. And it always will be. Why we know that? Because, it's one of those things in a way that we can do it in a safe way, because there are elementary school, also opioid prevention education as well. Not saying I'm not, not saying, we're going to get in depth with it, because it might be too much for them, or it might make them inquisitive. I'm not afraid to speak about something to help others as well, though. So don't get it like that. I'm not saying that, but I mean, we really have to watch sometimes what that takes, what that takes and how that takes. I think, so just some education, some basic education on opioids is a big thing. Also, we have a college tour schedule. It's one of those things that I think a kid should see. I think a kid should see because it's everlasting when they do. I mean, and I think, getting them involved, understanding that is a big thing. And I think, the more we can get them involved, the more we can keep them going. And like I said, keep them engaged. I mean, and that's what I said, I think this year, I think we can, continue that with some things we have in place to continue contact as far as with an event type of thing with, some of the youth, just to make sure they understand it wasn't just about the summer, right? Just being invested. Being invested in
and
them.
it keeps that accountability, throughout the school year.
Right, and like I said, and this is not, and I always say that, but when it comes to controversy, I don't want any of it. I mean, when it comes to competition, I don't want any of it either. I now, like I said, now we playing Uno, no mercy. That's a little different. But other than that, no, seriously. But other than that, no. I think it's one of those things where people can really excel if they understand that people are invested in them as well. Yeah. I mean, we're going to invest. We will after the month. We'll invest a lot of time in each youth that that attend TSK Camp Elevate. With that being said, why lose that when we can continue it and keep it going? Right.
And I like it because it's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. Because I can look back at my own life, and whether it was a coach or a teacher, or part of my church family or extended family, there's always been certain people that made an impression on me that no matter if I'm 50 or 15, I don't want to let those people down.
Right.
And I think the more people like that we can have in our lives, especially as youth, the better. And a lot of these activities, they introduce these kids to those people and to peers as well.
Right. And I think when we speaking about it, are we just playing in a camp? Now I see it's bigger than that.
Yes.
Even me, I see it as bigger than that. I mean, you have 28, 29 kids, for a certain amount of time, and it's like we can really make a difference, beyond that. We can make this a movement more beyond it, and we're all. I mean, this isn't only for TSK Camp Elevate, for other camps as well, and make sure they stay involved. Make sure they have some things for them. Make sure they understand that they belong. They belong, because I think a lot of times that's what happens. A lot of people feel like they don't belong, right? And I mean, we go through different stages, right? Where people, we feel like we belong one day, and then the next day we feel like we don't. So those are the things, that I start to see that is bigger than that. And, and that's the thing that, like I said, as far as improvement or as far as advancement, that's the way I want to advance. I really want, Camp Elevate to, definitely advance in that way. But it's going to take time, and I understand that. But it's going to take careful planning and also, some strong people around in order to do that. They're invested in, Camp Elevate as well. And I think we're starting to have that. And I think, to me, that's a great thing. I mean, that's, definitely where it's at when it comes to certain things as well. We have to be able to, home in, on number one, the great things that we could help provide with them. Also, getting with others as well.
Right.
Collaborating as well. I mean, I was talking to someone else